This is a quick video on using one of these ratcheting style coaxial cable crimp connection tools. Yes, this crimps the connection. It is not a compression tool. And a lot of people will tell you, well, crimp connections are for amateurs. They're garbage. They won't last. And that's true, I guess, if you're talking about an outside connection. If you're going to make an outside coaxial cable connection, it definitely needs to be a compression connection, which uses a totally different tool and a totally different kind of connector outside the scope of this video. If you are a professional, then yeah, you shouldn't be using crimped connections. If you're a DIYer, a crimped connection like this will work just fine if you're repairing a piece of coax to put up a TV antenna, as long as it's an indoor connection. Now, I got this tool on clearance from a big Midwestern hardware store for like 14 bucks. So it was kind of a great deal. It's made by Datashark. They make TV cable, telephone, and communications tools and equipment. So let's see how this works. This is a ratcheting style tool. So when you squeeze it, it locks. Every time you squeeze it, it will lock in place. And then as you complete the crimp cycle, it will release automatically. Now this tool has a die built into it here, which will crimp RG59, RG6, and RG6 quad shield crimp connections. Most of the time you're going to use the middle die here, which is for RG6. I would not recommend RG59 for TV cable anymore. It's too thin. There's not enough insulation. It loses too much signal. RG6 is your best bet. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a connection. First, you want to strip your cable. Use a proper stripping tool. These are much more effective than a knife. If you want to learn more about this, look in the description. There's a link to a video about these tools. Okay, you're going to take off all the insulation. That is the center conductor that carries your TV signal. All of this little braided shielding here has to be peeled back and out of the way. You don't want that touching the center conductor because that could short out your signal. All right, that's good. Now we can push the connector on. Sometimes this takes a little bit of extra muscle. It might be here a while. All right, I got that on there. The white plastic dielectric insulation should be flush with that bottom pan on this nut. That's when you know that this connector is ready to be crimped in place. Now there's a little button on this tool if you make a mistake. Let's say I use the wrong jaw. Let's say I use the RG59 jaw, which is much smaller than the RG6 jaw, the one in the middle. That's the one I should be using. If I try to crimp this, it's going to crush this connection. It's going to ruin it. It will not work. So it's already locked on there. How do I get that out of there? Well, you just push this button. And that is released. Now I can go ahead and use the proper RG6 die. Now what we want to do is make sure that this is not too far up because we don't want to crush this nut here because we won't be able to make our coax connection later on. That's got to spin freely. So set that back so it's just below this little ring here. And then you're just going to squeeze until the crimp cycle is complete and the tool will automatically release. Okay, now that's on there and that's on there snug. That's not going anywhere. That is going to be perfectly fine for an indoor connection.